What's up, YouTube? It is officially winter here in Southwest Michigan, and rather than sit out here and freeze my butt off, I decided I'm going to get the Miller table set up inside, and we're going to run some concentrates that I have. So let's go ahead and get inside, get the Miller table set up, and let's see some gold. Here we have the Miller table set up. I think I got a pretty good starting point. Everything looks like it's nice and even flow across it. So I'm going to give a little bit of a shot of jet dry into that water. Let that circulate for a little bit. And in the meantime, here is my bucket of concentrates. I'm going to run it through a couple of classifiers here, get a couple of different classifications, and then we'll get to running this material. There's all our big classifieds, and then here in these two pans, the material that will actually run to the table, we have the coarser material there, and then the fine material, which is quite a bit more. So it might take a little bit to go through that fine material, but there's a lot of blonde mixed in, so the separation should be pretty easy on these two. So let me go ahead and grab a spoon, and we're gonna get to feeding this thing. I've just got this thing set up on my kitchen table here. A little recirculating setup here, just a little tub. I have a catch pan and my pump down there. I have some brushes, some paint brushes from the dollar store here that I use to kind of aid in the gold recovery. On this Miller table, there's a hole right there, and that hole actually goes down to a vial that screws in. So when your gold gets separated, you just use the brush, you bring it on over, and you drop it right in the vial. So this is actually kind of a pretty cool little gold recovery tool here, this Miller table. I've only used it once before, but I'm excited to use it again, and I know there's decent gold in these concentrates, so let's go ahead and get started. Just grab the plastic spoon there. I don't want to do any more dishes than I absolutely have to. My normal spoons that I use specifically for gold are out in the garage, and I could go grab one, but I think I'll just make do. So what I'll do is I will just put a little bit on, and then I am going to kind of probably have to dial this in. I think I'm using a little bit more water flow than I did last time, and I started off with just a very conservative angle. So we're going to kind of have to dial this thing in based on what we see. It looks like things are moving down the table pretty quick as I'm dropping them onto there. So I think I'm going to dial that water flow back just a little bit before we put the rest of that spoonful on. I have this ball valve here that I'm going to use to dial the water flow back. I highly recommend getting an actual speed controller. I have a speed controller now so that I could regulate the voltage from the battery and regulate the speed that way. But I do have it hooked up on something else, and I just already had this on there, so it's kind of convenient just for me to continue to roll with that. But a speed controller is definitely going to be the preferred method for controlling your water flow with this configuration. Here we go again with just a little bit less on the water flow. Looks like those materials are still moving off it pretty quickly, but not as quickly as they were. So I'm going to dial that back just a little bit more. Now I expect that these small stones that we're scooping onto there will clear off pretty quick, just because they do have so much surface area. The water is going to exert more force on them and carry them down the table. I'm actually going to try a spoon before we go adjusting too much. Let's try a spoon of this this finer material. And let's just see how that behaves at this setting. Okay, yep, see? Exactly like I thought. Those larger stones are going to move down that table a lot quicker, just because the amount of surface area that they have compared to a granule of sand. Okay, there we go. So you can see that material is just marching its way down, and we should be able to see any gold show up really nice on this green background here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go ahead and feed this thing low and slow. Gonna make sure I don't get any crazy collection points like I see there. That's not too bad, but definitely want to see just nice, even material going down the table. So let me make a few more minor adjustments, and we'll probably run that finer stuff first since it's running so good at these settings, and then we'll save the coarser stuff for last. There's a little bit of a decent sized piece right there where my fingertip is. It's not focusing in too well, but you can see the glint of it just a touch. Doing it inside is not the same as outside. I definitely prefer daylight when it comes to being able to see gold, but we're working with the conditions that we have here in the winter. Definitely not going to set up the sawhorses and get the miller table set up outside this time of year. Maybe if we have a really nice day in the 40s, I might, but definitely don't want to be out there in the single digits doing that. It was pretty low in the single digits this morning when I got up. I think as of right now, it might be warmed up into the low, probably the high teens. Might get to the low 20s if we're really lucky. So, yep, winter is here. So far, all really fine stuff. I had that one piece over there, and there was a couple other small pieces that are in there as well. I'm hoping that we maybe have some bigger pieces over there in that coarser material, and I'm excited to run that after we're through all this. It'll probably take a little while to go through this. With a miller table, you always want to go really slow. Make sure that you're not rolling your gold off of the end of the table. So I'm just going to slow and steady, just feed this thing, keep tweaking it here and there, and we're going to see how much we end up with. I really like that that has the vial there, because then at the end we can just put the vial of gold into a fresh clean pan, and we can see how much we have, and we don't got to work super hard to try and get that all separated out at the end. So far, so good. I'm seeing a lot of fine gold showing up. I haven't slowed down the water flow and got any of it over into the vial yet, but this is taking quite a long time to run. I remember the last time that I ran this, it was a long time to go through all the beach sand concentrates that I had. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a little panning station in my bathtub really quick, and I am going to just pan this stuff down a little bit. That way we have less material that we have to go through. I'm pretty confident that I can pan off a lot of this lighter stuff, not lose very much gold, if any. And as always, I save my tailings anyway, so I can rerun them through the gold cube at a later date. So I'm going to let this thing run for a little bit while I go pan some of that stuff down a bit more. And we'll get a good look at it here in a little bit. And we'll get some of the gold that's left on the table at the end of it moved over and put into that vial. I get some pockety patches that start to form. I just take this brush and I kind of brush back up the table. Always brush up, don't brush down. You don't want to accidentally send any gold over the edge. Although you should always save your tailings and go back through them anyway. But yep, I always just brush those back up. It kind of allows the sand to disperse a little bit, rescatter, and then it usually will finish flowing back down and over the edge. I counted 8 fine pieces of gold that I'm going to attempt to get over to the vial here. So what you do is you just take your brush, and you just kind of scoot the gold over ever so carefully, and you drop it into that there hole. And I did see it go in. It's probably really hard for you guys to see, and I apologize for that. The GoPro is not great on the zoom feature. I do have a magnifying lens, but I do not have it set up on the camera right now. So I'm just gathering up all those fine little pieces of gold and brushing them on over. Brushing them on over to the vial there. And then we got that nice bigger piece that we have there. That one should be a shoe-in. Make sure that I got one little piece that shot over here. Don't want to lose any of it. Worked too hard to find this gold. Last thing I want to do is let any of it get lost. So, okay. Well, I got this concentrated down quite a bit more here, so this should run pretty quickly. Got quite a bit of the lighter stuff worked off. You can see there still is some of the blonde sand that's in there, but in any case, that's probably about half the material or less than I was starting out with. I just hand pan that. So when I say concentrates, that's just concentrates from me hand panning out of the creek. It wasn't like run through my gold cube or anything like that. Otherwise, there probably would have been even less blonde to start with. So without further ado, I'm going to start spooning some more material onto this, and we're going to keep on running. Yep, slow and steady wins the race. I try not to drop too much on at any one time. And I just brush it back just a little bit. Try and keep constant separation happening. So, why don't you drop a comment down below. Let me know what your guys' favorite cleanup methods are. Even though I'm using the Miller table in this video, I have to admit, I think my preferred method is probably the cleanup sluice. And then, I think my second favorite, honestly, is just the good old-fashioned, tried and true hand panning. Especially early on, a lot of what I did with all my concentrates when I got home was just classified them down into a few different classifications, and then just spent a long time to hand pan them out, because I always feel compelled to go through my concentrate or my tailings when I run it through cleanup equipment anyway. So earlier on, I was like, well, why double do the work? Why not just start with the hand panning and you know, feel confident that I got everything the first time? But the more I've gotten into it, the more cleanups that I've done, I've really come to appreciate the cleanup sluice. I want to do some more with my Desert Fox. I haven't really done too much with that in a while, but that one was a pretty good one. And the Miller table definitely has its advantages too. Definitely, like I said, it's really cool that it has the collection vial right onto it. So that's a feature that's definitely unique to the Miller table that I like. So, you know, each method has its own advantages and disadvantages, and everybody has their own opinions. I'd be curious to hear what yours are. As I'm spooning material out, I can see a nice gleaming piece in there. So I tell you what I want to see. I want to see how well that'll stick. So let's get that nice gleaming piece there in that spoon. Let's try dropping that on our table. Just make sure that it sticks and stays. That's probably the biggest piece I've seen so far today. Oh yeah, there we go. Nice. Be happy with that piece. Actually, that'd be a good piece to demonstrate how we get that over to the vial, because you can actually see it. So I put that brush in there. I take and just scoot that piece over till it gets to the vial, and then it drops right down into it. Nice and easy like. A lot of the gold that I'm getting is very, very fine. So I'm not really picking a lot of it up on the camera, but I think it'll probably show nicely when we get it all into the pan together. But yeah, a lot of this stuff here is small gold. And I'm going to run that coarser stuff here in a few minutes. I'm almost to the fine stuff, and we'll see. Hopefully there'll be some bigger gold in that coarser stuff, but if not, we got some fines. Can't complain for Michigan, and it's you know, good way to pass a winter day. Okay, all the fine stuff has been ran through, and now we have the coarser stuff. I'm gonna see if the way that I have it set up currently, I have it a lot slower than I did initially. Gotta see how that works. I'm gonna guess that will probably be good. That's a slow enough water flow. If I was to throw a nice sized piece in there, it should stick. So I'm gonna run through this. I don't expect that there'll be any huge pieces in here, but it'd be nice to be surprised. So I'll run through that, and then we'll get that vial unscrewed from the bottom, and we'll get it all into that green pan. We'll see how much gold we ended up with. There were a couple of smaller pieces that were just so happened to be in there. Nothing big. Quite a few pieces of lead here that are nice and heavy sitting there. So anyhow, I'm going to get the rest of this table cleared off, turn up the water for a second, and just let it clear everything off. And then we'll turn the water off, we'll get that vial out, and we will put it over into that pan. Okay, so I will just reach under here. Now I want to be very careful not to drop that once it releases. It's the last thing I want is to drop that vial of gold into that water. Okay, there we go. Get that into there. I don't know if we're going to have as much gold as I was hoping for. Unfortunately, I do think that I think I lost a bit of it. I think there was a few times where there was decent sized little flat pieces that I was trying to get moved with the brush, and they just caught the water and kind of rode down. So here, let me get a little bit of water in this, and we'll get it all concentrated over to one side. I can see quite a bit, but we'll definitely get the magnifying lens and a penny. Well, it's not the most amount of gold I've ever found, but a few dozen colors, maybe over 50. Not too bad for a couple hours of hand panning in Michigan, and not a bad way to spend a winter day here using that Miller table for the first time in a long time. So anyhow, I'm excited to get out and find some new creeks in this area. Maybe some days that get up into the 30s or 40s this winter, I'll go ahead and get out and do some prospecting here in southwest Michigan. And looking forward to next season. Definitely going to make some trips and go to some more fun places. Maybe get up to Nugget Lake and try a few other areas out. So thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up button and consider becoming a subscriber to my channel. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks.